I'm going to throw two different ideas of how to describe words can kill. The first one is if Scrabble and Slay the Spire had a baby. The second one is if Bookworm Adventures was a deck builder. And I think that probably might capture most of the audience of the people that watch this video. Words Can Kill is a really interesting idea that takes a roguelike RPG battling system but rips out the actual battle and replaces it with a Scrabble-like build the words and the words convert to damage. It's an interesting premise, it takes a bit of getting used to, and there's a definite difficulty curve and learning curve with this game, but if it gets under your skin, then it can become something that you can lose quite a many hours on. You start off with Words Can Kill as your level 1 scout, and there are a couple of different difficulty levels with your first incarnation of yourself. And the idea is that you then set out on a world map with different types of battles. When you go into battle, you'll start off with a deck of letter tiles, just similar to Scrabble, and you'll get given them out of your hand, and you'll have more letters kind of available in the background for you to choose from, and from there you'll be asked to create words. Words can be used for attack, to attack the enemy, or because the enemy will show you what its next move is above your head, can then be used to defend by placing it against your shield. Depending what the enemy's attacks are or what its next move is will kind of decide what it is that you're wanting to do, because you'll want to get in your attacks whilst you can, but if an enemy is going to come in with an all-powerful attack and they've charged 2 battles or 2 rounds for it and it's going to be almighty and take away a massive amount of health, it's about time you got that damage, or shield, nice and charged and ready to absorb the damage. You start off with this collection of tiles on the bottom, and you have to place all of your tiles pretty much somewhere before you go to the next turn. And this is how you can try and build out some really cleverly scored words. Because just like Scrabble, say a Z is worth more than an A and an I and an O and a U, but so could be a H. And then you'll start to get tiles that have more than one letter on, like a double L or an EA or an OP. And all of these will drip in to make your words bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. However, when you decide to end your turn, you can leave tiles into the attack or defense kind of area. So if you've got a leftover S, for example, you can kind of gamble on the fact that if you move that into attack, you're going to get a new selection of tiles given to you to make bigger and better words, or sometimes a couple of smaller ones. Letters, or tiles rather, will also have the ability to have extra powers with them. So it might be that Fs and Ls, you can level them up as you go through your world map, and they then score triple points if they're the first letter in the word. Or if more than 3 vowels are used in a certain word, then they all score double points. All of these things are playing in the back of your mind whilst you try and work out what's the biggest damage or defense score that you can get. And the enemies come in a variety of different shapes and sizes. Some of them will bring out other enemies to block them. Some of them will switch around your tiles and swap around the actual words for them. Some of them will add extra blanks in that you can't really use and just stop you from being able to get all of your tiles scoreable into the deck. Some of them will break some of your most powerful ones that are left not in your discard pile. And yeah, it's constantly throwing more and more different things at you. Hence, it's a learning curve and it takes a while to get going. Or for you, not to get going necessarily, for you to kind of tune into how it's thinking. Because I was sitting there thinking initially, okay, how do I score the biggest words for attack all of the time? And then you very quickly learn, no, I need to balance attack and defense. The other thing that you need to learn how to kind of manage is that you have a re-roll, but it does damage your health. But sometimes you just get a cack hand, and it's better to take the damage knowing that you've got better tiles in your deck and hoping that you'll get the rub of the green when it's all going around. As you get from battle to battle, you'll have the ability to not only pay to upgrade tiles so that they either score more or have some of those extra traits on, but you'll also have a shield, a sword, a hat and some armour that you can buy and invest in too. And these also come with additional power-ups. So quite often for swords I would end up getting the ones where it was, if you scored a 4-letter word, it would add another 3 or 4 damage on, for example. With the hats it would be things like, or armours, it would say like automatically give you 2 or 3 shield to begin with, which lessens the blows for some of the attacks, and also means that you don't have to go for quite so many complicated letters and words to try and make a shield. There was one shield that I discovered which was an absolute godsend to me in one run, where it said that you didn't have to do an actual real word to be able to score something. You could put in gobbledygook, and that was very handy because you could fill up stuff and then save it for an attack when, say, a big boss was coming in and it was going to give you 25 damage. Sometimes that was the only way to survive. Runs do have the luck of, unfortunately, RNG to it. So some runs are just naturally harder than others and you'll like wipe out earlier. Some of that will also be down to the deck of letters that you start out with too. One of the things that I would say though is that the roguelike element does really rip you all the way back to near on 0 again for every run. So it doesn't feel like you're making tangible progression when you die and rinse and repeat. So some of this does feel a little bit like, I'm going through treacle. But if it gets under your skin and you really like word games, then Words Can Kill, I think, would absolutely keep you invested as you go through the game itself. Words Can Kill does have a few oddities though. The first thing for me was around the control system, which took me a while to get used to because I'm so used to when there's a like letter-based game, being able to just type in the letters and kind of go attack or defense. There is a system of being able to see the words that you can make up in front of you and then kind of drop them down, and that's kind of the recommended default experience. But if you want some of the harder difficulties, some of that functionality and quality of life feature gets taken away from you, which then actually makes the game much harder to play. It is also extremely difficult, and it's interesting because I've seen the dev comment on the discussion forums that I don't get why people are finding it so hard, and I think it's because some of the systems, they feel at odds to use, like injuring yourself to get new tiles into the deck. It's a trick that you have to really like decide exactly when you're going to go with it. And sometimes you just get a crap run and you're just like, and it feels like you're immediately like you've got a W, a P, a Y, a V, an X. And then you're like, well, I've got an A and an E. What on earth can I get out of that? And then you get stuck in a bit of a rut with it. I feel like there could be an easier mode than what the base level of easy is. That's because at certain points, an enemy just feels really overpowered compared to the choices that you're given, particularly around health. So occasionally you get to plot your own routes through the overworld map, but sometimes you don't, because you're choosing every time you get to have a potion, whether or not you improve your maximum health by 10%, or whether you recover 15% of the health that you've lost. And all it takes is for one battle and one attack to be like, I've landed a 22 hit, and suddenly you've got half health, and you don't recover until you complete that section of the map and move on to the next level. And the problem with that is that all you have is just 2 wrong moves and you're done, and you can't recover from that. So it's really, really punishing. So thankfully there's no time limits to anything, but it does mean that one wrong move or one slight miscalculation or a couple of really unfortunate rolls of randomly thrown out tiles does screw you over. Words Can Kill though, really good oddity, an interesting niche tile there out on Steam. It's something that I would recommend with caution, but if you do enjoy word games and you don't mind a little bit of frustration and grind as you try and work out the best ways to unlock more things that you can maybe play with from the beginning and buy in the shop as you replay through the game, then yeah, Words Can Kill could very well kill your free time. Written review over on highplayinggames.com. Any questions, leave them below. Cheers. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.